All right, and good morning and welcome back. This is a special monthly community call for our Remote Pathways community. I'm Jennifer Britton, and I am so pleased to be here with my Remote Pathways podcast co-host, Michelle Mullins. Good morning, Michelle. How are you doing?
Good morning, Jen. I'm doing pretty good. I think I have still that same heart of gratitude just for the opportunity to be in this remote space with you and all our listeners for such a time as this. So, yeah, just grateful.
Absolutely.
Oh, Beth's here.
And
Good.
we've got Beth. We may have several other of our community here live. And we know many of you are listening in after the fact. We did a call, seems like many, many moons ago at the beginning of the month, and we have had up to 95 viewers over at
Wow.
YouTube. So just a reminder that we are going to be uploading these in service to the wider community because we know that the world has really changed in the last 3 weeks since we connected. Most of you are now in our regular world of remote work, and so we look forward to being a resource and perhaps a resource guide as you navigate this new space. The wonderful thing is we can stay connected, and Michelle and I are committed to connecting in at least once a month. Our next call after this will be on April 1st. So good to have you here, Beth. We are recording, so feel free to share or not share as much as you'd like. And if you'd like to say good morning, feel free to unmute.
Good morning to you both. Thank you for being up so early to make sure we understand all we need to understand. It's really a wonderful what you're doing. It's very much appreciated.
Well, our pleasure. And we do have others dropping in. We've got Dee Dee dropping in. Welcome. We are getting started with a special monthly call. And Dee Dee, just so you know that this call is being recorded so we can share it with a wider community. I have to say this week, I've been really privileged and pleased to be able to connect in with so many other professionals from across our coaching world and the wider world as well. I think for us as professional coaches, the world of remote has been so much our landscape for many years, and many of us are looking forward to introducing this way of working, I think, with others. So good morning to you, Dee Dee. Great to have you. Dee Dee is known for her jazz hands, and you can feel free to add that energy. We have always done a bit of a quick welcome intro, and I wanted to just share a different one today. As you get into your morning routine with your breakfast beverage, just want to give you a minute to get grounded with whatever is this morning, and to just lean in to some of these images here on the screen and see what is the one you might want to embrace today. I don't have my phone on the ready, but I will look at my watch. And I'll just give you 30 seconds right now to lean in and get grounded for the morning. That's about 30 seconds. So I get to go to you, Michelle. What did you gravitate towards this morning?
You know me, I'm still that beach girl. I'm nestled in the mountains, but I long for the beach. So I landed on those beautiful blue waters there, those island waters.
Blue waters. And it's interesting, a few months ago, last month actually, I did a call. One of the remote work myths that I think we're all experiencing right now is this feeling that we are isolated and disconnected. And certainly we're all working together. My February 2020 call for Plan Do Track was actually no person is an island. And as some of you know, I spent many years working for the United Nations throughout Central South America and the Caribbean. And one thing that I learned about the Caribbean, other than Barbados, where I was based, all islands are connected deeply underwater. And as much as we feel isolated, I think the metaphor of the island right now is very apropos. I think it's important that we recognize as much as we are in our own spaces, we are hopefully like islands, deeply connected as human beings. And through conversations like this, we hope that you'll see a new way of conversing and being with each other. So I picked also the island, nice, and I also picked the lighthouse. In the recent months, I've been having this image of a lot of my work as being a beacon, a safe harbor for remote work, and that's something Michelle and I are committed to in this space. So welcome to Jen G, one of our past special guests, and I'd just like to invite anyone else. We've got a little bit of content that we want to share with you today, but would anyone else like to give voice to what you've chosen? Beth or Dee Dee or Jennifer? You don't have to. Beth?
This is Beth. I picked the one on the bottom in the middle with the tower, the long pier going out into the water. It reminded me of the Middle East, Jordan, where I used to work with the UN, and we had a place on the Red Sea at the coast for weekend getaways that had a similar pier, and it just reminded me of many wonderful memories of palm trees and blue skies and family time, and it just made me feel calm. I immediately centered on that. It just brought back so many wonderful memories. So I am very grounded. Thank you very much.
Good. Well, you know, part of this is also getting us and getting our brains open. We know that in times of crisis and times of stress, our brains literally shut down. And so we hope that something like this is something maybe you can recreate in your own work with clients, as well as just for this moment, notice what's available to you as you get grounded. So Dee Dee or Jennifer, before we move on, any quick comments that you'd like to make? Right.
Well, I think after hearing that the islands are all deeply connected, I wanted to go back and pick the islands. But my original choice, Jen, was the stones. I know there's a term for that, because it just felt like even though they're all different, they're all kind of reliant upon each other. And there's something about that configuration that's grounding for me.
Mm-hmm. Connection is so key at this moment in time. And Jennifer G, I know we've got you. Is there anything you want to add to our list here today?
Yeah, I love the headphones with the phone, and because I have my meditation apps on my phone, and so what it represents to me is my ability to kind of go inside and just get grounded, listen to something soothing, so that I can kind of reemerge and connect with others from a calm, grounded space.
Absolutely. Well, with that, thank you. You are here, and we want to point you to some of the resources in addition to our podcast. So we just released on Wednesday episode number 9. And Michelle, what do we term it? And Michelle's having a drink. Was it remote, virtual, or mobile? Is that the title?
Yes, it's more on the lighthearted side. We share a little bit of our remote adventures, and then we clarify the definition, the difference between remote, virtual, and mobile, because I think that's a lot of the conversations right now, working from home, where does that fall? All those kind of things. So it's a great little
And interestingly enough, Michelle and I had done a series of recordings about a month ago. One coming up on work from home. We've got future guests coming up around mentoring, conflict in the remote space as well. And so again, stay tuned. Some of them will get recorded as of the next few weeks to reflect current reality. But it's interesting how ahead of the curve we all have been in many respects. So I've been doing a bit of writing, and I've been trying to put them out on more open channels. I've started writing over at thriveglobal.com, which is really all about mindfulness. It's a mindfulness platform. And you'll find a couple of articles, including this one that I did last week on working from home in focus. I think so many people are finding this is a new way of working. And so that article goes into just 5 ways that we could be focusing in on, like including things like how do we get focused? How do we minimize distractions? How do we keep motivated? And I think motivation is probably something certainly I've been aware of all week. I'm sure many of the clients we support have been aware of. And the importance of connection. And so again, through these remote pathways calls, our next one will be the first Thursday of April. That will be April 2nd, I believe. And then next week, I'll be continuing my virtual luncheons. So drop in if you are around the last week of March. And those usually happen, except for Friday, at 12 noon. So it was interesting. We also have been doing conversation sparkers. And the one that I picked randomly out of our file was the boundaries I need to include are. So just think about your boundaries right now. Think about what might be in service to you, physically, metaphorically, and in service to you. Like that island, we are all connected. We might feel that we're in isolation, but there are deep roots. Again, archipelagos happen from the same magna resource, if you know a little bit about volcanic action. And that was something I learned about in my former world of work. So thank you for being here. Michelle, what did you want to spark? I know you sort of had some ideas this morning, so I'm gonna pass the ball over to you.
Yeah, I think I was going to spark like just your rhythm, your daily rhythm in the remote space. What works really well for you? Just like we did that little activity right now, but what else can help you? I know that I use the daily planner from Plan Do Track. That really helps me get grounded and focus. It's just one piece of paper. So just right now, it can be kind of hard to capture those thoughts and get that focus. So that just kind of puts my attention in one space, and I can really expand from there. But yeah, so I'd love to hear kind of if you have any, I think there's benefit from us gathering together. I'd love to hear from you guys if you feel led to share what works well for you in the remote space, just in routine and rhythm.
Hey, Michelle, this is Jennifer.
Hi.
Hi. I think, you and I have talked about this many times, what we call being breaks, BEING. Just the same as, if you're working from an office, it can be really easy to kind of sit down in your chair and get focused on something, and hours have passed. It's not necessarily that healthy. So I like to remind myself, even sometimes setting a timer or giving myself little chunks of time to do things. And then, the being is reminding myself that I'm a human being. So, go to the bathroom, get something to drink, take a stretch, pet my dog, go outside and get some fresh air. And usually it's funny, in those little breaks, when I'm away from my work, is when I'll get some kind of an insight, an idea for content or something, when I've stepped away, taking one of those being breaks. So that's my contribution this morning.
Fabulous. I love it. Being breaks. Yes. Easy to remember too. I love that.
Yes.
And I love too, Jennifer, that again, you've reminded us of the importance of routine, right? I think routine for me and our family here has become so important. What are the things that I typically do? And as some of you know, I usually get up quite early. This week I'm allowing myself to sleep until 5:30, but I'm still getting up, going on the treadmill because our pools are of course closed. But that time is really, I know in my brain, a way to start my day. It's a day to get prepared, a day to think creatively, a day to let any concerns go. And just like you said, it's so important when we are working remote or working from home to take breaks, because we can get in flow, which is wonderful. It's really what we do want. But to really sustain this sort of pace over the longer term and the medium term, we do need to make sure that we're renewing ourselves as well. How about you, Beth? Go ahead.
I have read recently about some teams that are coping by starting their days with virtual coffee breaks together. And it does need to take a lot of time, but it's just one way to coalesce and do something on a regular basis that starts the day on a good tone.
We can do it, right? And this is where Zoom is a great platform, or for many enterprises, they've got other solutions. So to look at how do you really hack away at the technologies you have available to connect, right? Because the connection piece I think is the one. Hearing voice. For years, we've been in the virtual remote space. It's been like, let's just use text, let's use instant message. But I think something that people will realize very quickly is what's the right channel for the message. And actually, this week's, I don't know if I have a copy of it. This week's weekly download. So we've been doing a weekly download over at our website, remotepathways.com, at the blog. And this is the week 11 download, which is all about communication. So be sure to download it. We haven't required any email addresses. It's just a gift to the world, but it's interesting, and it's continuing to see how like these themes that I had set back in November are actually quite reflective. So next week, week 12, stay tuned, but definitely check it out. And think about how you can be bringing voice in. If you've usually been doing more instant message, like pick up the phone, get the phone calls going again, because people are hungry for the vocal and verbal communication. So I'll just do one thing before we maybe hear from Dee Dee and others. You know, here's George Bernard Shaw. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. And this is something I think that I carried forward. I've used this quote for years. I think it came from my years as a remote leader myself, where my staff team was across 10 countries. There were 26 nationalities in our team. And I learned very quickly that I needed to always assume, or like always check my assumptions, that the communication that I had shared really had gotten through. It doesn't mean that people read your emails. It doesn't mean that the message is received as we intend. So a little quote to consider this week is, you know, has communication really taken place? So over to you, Dee Dee. Any resources you want to share with us this morning?
I was a little stuck on the daily rhythm question that Michelle posed. And I think because of this change, my daily rhythm has been thrown off. Because typically I get to walk with my dogs early in the morning. My partner's home now because his work has forced him to spend his time at home, and so he's taking care of the dogs. And so every morning when I get to my office here, I've forgotten something. Today it was my wallet and my phone. Yesterday it was something else, probably my lunch. So it reminds me that the daily rhythm aspect is so important, at least in my world. So I'm going to have to figure something out. I might have to trade back doing dog walks so I can get my rhythm back.
I love that. Permission to just rest there for a moment, Dee Dee. Something that helped me just in times of transition. Sometimes if I travel, go to a hotel or something, just taking that space in the morning to just like visualize my day before I walk it out, and just set the intention for the day. And sometimes I will visualize where I put my keys on the desk, and just do it in my head before I live out my day. And it really helps. And sometimes I'll just start with one, then go to 3, and then go to 5.
Oh, that's
By
great.
the end of the week, you have a good rhythm. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Wonderful. So, Michelle, you also mentioned, and I'll just direct people because it is a free resource over at Plan, Do, Track. So this was my 2019 planner on virtual and remote, but there is a daily planner download that you can access if you want something in PDF format. It is in the book, but you can download this one pager as a resource, and it's found. I'll make sure that we put a bit more of a highlighted button at the front of plandotrack.com. But you can also find it at Coaching Business Builder. We'll include, I don't think we have it on our resource page for remote pathways, but we can add that in. Yeah. So what else, Michelle? What else did you think was important for us to look at this morning as we step into a new way of working for so many?
Well, I think I've heard a lot, just does anybody have any questions about the remote space beyond rhythm? Because I have been having a lot of those conversations, and I imagine you have too. If you serve other communities. Maybe it's people in your neighborhood, maybe it's people in your family. Like, how can we support you to help you support others? Does anybody have any questions around that?
I think, Michelle, what you just shared about visualization, I was thinking about a particular client who I worked with on Monday, and she was surprised at how distracted she's been.
Mm-hmm.
And she has a new, larger team of people. A portion of them are global. And so she's trying to be this great new leader, but she's finding that she's very distracted about what's going on in her community and, what exactly is happening to her personally. So it feels like even that visualization process could be a nice tool for her. But I'm also wondering if there are other things that you're hearing or that you can recommend about folks who are finding it difficult to stay focused on kind of work at hand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'd like to plant a seed for you, Dee Dee, as well. Your voice is very calm and soothing. I encourage you to get it out there to people, because I just feel like if you have that very grounding voice. So I don't know who you work with, but I encourage you to share it. Right. Yeah. Jennifer, Britton,
Thank
you
you.
have so many tips about productivity and focus. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, again, I think to something Beth said earlier, can we be starting our day as a team? And if you are a global team, of course, like you're scattered across time zones, but this is where that routine, the regular practices become so important. And is there a time of day where the team comes together for that 15-minute Zoom call just to connect and get grounded? And again, I think when we connect in on a human-to-human basis, that can help us with focus. It can help us remember what's important in the here and now, because our brains can go any which way. And I think at this moment in time, it's so important that we do keep business running, albeit in a new way. But business and conversations need to continue to happen to be an economic engine. And with that, like routine practice in teams is always about conversation. And so to really leverage that. But I would also say, and that's a strong but, at this time, and certainly here in Canada right now, we're starting to have a lot of conversations around mental health, because I think for so many, like if we think of where we were 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, the world has changed. And this was unexpected, and certainly how are we going to navigate that as individuals, as families, as communities, as businesses? And so to recognize too that there hopefully are some resources at our own individual levels that we can be tapping into to talk about it, to strategize about it, and just to acknowledge that we don't have answers. So we've been talking for years about how do we lead when we don't know what we don't know. And this is now the time. This is truly a moment where we need to lead with faith and courage and connection, even if we aren't physically together. So I see Jennifer has raised her hand. Jennifer, do you have a resource or a comment you want to add?
Yeah, the thought that's coming to me is just coming back to basics. So when we kind of the dust settles, okay, we're now working from home. And if the issue is distraction and how do I focus and help my team focus, connect back with your vision and your values as a person and as an organization. What is it that we're doing? What is the purpose of our work? And then, back to Michelle, that visualization, what are the 3 biggest goals that I want to achieve today? So when you kind of fast forward to the end of the day, you're looking back, you can say, oh, I accomplished these 3 things. And that will kind of help keep your mind focused, because, you know, when you're home, of course, you're also seeing like the laundry and, oh yeah, I need to order that thing and I need to take the dog to the vet, right? So it can increase distractibility because you're in your home environment. So you're mixing two worlds. And that's happening, you know, for your employees as well. So I think that, you know, just those goals and keep them simple and small and attainable is really, you know, it's huge. And moving forward and feeling a sense of accomplishment and also a sense of, you know, quote unquote control, that we can make progress. This is our sense of, you know, of control, I guess. Yeah.
And write it down, right? Like in fluid contexts, it's so important that we anchor things visually. This was the topic yesterday, and I'm so glad, Jennifer, you brought up the, you know, like keep it simple. I was talking about it on the Tuesday call. It's like, yeah, let's get back to the basics. Let's contingency plan. And again, write it down so that, you know, at noon or at 6 p.m., you can actually look back and say, oh, I did get some things done. Maybe it wasn't exactly what I thought I would do at the start of the day, but I have gotten things done. And so just a reminder that, yes, we can do all of this digitally, but our brains are retaining things differently when we write it down on paper. So I'm just going to put another little plug for Plan, Do, Track. Woke up to many emails this morning saying, because I'm going to be doing a Plan, Do, Track virtual retreat next Thursday. And it's a 4 hours to just drop in, get focused on your plans, take some action. And a couple of people were saying, well, I don't have a copy of the planner and it's going to take a week to get it. Will you have materials? And so I'll be offering some PDF materials in advance of that program that people can use not only for the day, but for you know, all of their work. And we are thinking about, do we put Plan, Do, Track? This is like just this morning. Do I put Plan, Do, Track out as a PDF? I may be doing that so that it joins effective virtual conversations. If not on Kindle, at least as a PDF version, because we can get that out pretty quickly. So I've been touting this only because it is 440 pages of goodness of how to facilitate virtually. And with that, I'll pass over to you, Michelle, because you've got something happening as well. You've got your stress detox program.
Plan, Do, Track virtual days that she's going to be offering, highly recommend. That brought a great sense of rhythm to my life throughout the years, tapping into Jennifer's skill of leading in that time. So I highly recommend you do that. The other thing, it's a new resource. Jennifer Grody, I'm so glad you're here because I wanted to mention the stress detox coaching program that we're launching March 30th. So would you like to share about that, or?
Sure. So similar, it's going to be an online program. We're offering it, it's 4 weeks, and we'll be meeting once a week. You get to choose whether you want to join us Monday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern or Thursday afternoons at 12 p.m. Eastern. And what we're really going to do is just kind of tap into understand what is our own unique individual stress response, because, you know, there's kind of the global ways that we respond to stress, kind of that fight, flight, freeze. But then there's unique ways that we, you know, patterns we've developed over our life that we're going to explore, but in order that we can kind of bypass them, so to speak, and develop more healthier ways of managing stress. And we have this program, you know, designed before the coronavirus. You know, it's just kind of amazing how that happens. But it's, you know, for such a time as this, it's really great. We're going to be tapping into emotional intelligence, teaching you stress relieving techniques and tips and tools that will not only help you, but help you lead your teams and your family, and things that you can do, you know, with your spouse or your kids. So it'll be a lot of fun. And again, it's a form of connection, which I think is really important.
Absolutely. So I want to acknowledge our time. Just a couple of other resources. You can tap into episode 9, Remote Pathways, remote, virtual, or mobile. Our episodes are typically only anywhere between about 18 to 25 minutes. So they're really short. Let others know, and they come out bi-weekly. And then Michelle and I are going to be starting to do virtual co-working sessions in April. virtual. Those aren't yet like coalesced, but those will be a little shorter than the virtual retreats that I offer and at a lower price point as well. So we want to offer a variety of supports, but please like share the podcast, right? We've only done 9 episodes. We have episode 10 coming up, and in saying only, it really is about the varied pathways people find themselves on. And so 9 months ago, I dreamed up this notion of the digital dozen, where you have people from project managers to coaches to creative solopreneurs to remotepreneurs. And we've been following those pathways. We now have millions of people in those pathways. So please share it. It is a resource specifically around how do people navigate this world. And we want to thank you for being here today with us. Michelle, anything you want to mention before we wrap up? Because I want to acknowledge some people might have 8 a.m. calls.
Yeah, no, I'll be short and sweet. Just thank you for being here and connecting with us. It's a gift. So thank you for sharing your hearts with us today.
So I'm going to take something that Dee Dee loves to do, which is her jazz hands. Thank you.
Everybody.
Have a great day. We hope to see you on Thursday, April the 2nd. That call is usually at 7 a.m. So join us if you are able. Keep in touch.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
everyone.